Hey, what's happening, everybody? Hope you guys are doing all right. Hey, I just wanted to do a fairly short video today. By the way, I am Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed, in case you don't know who I am. If you didn't know who I was, why would you be watching? But in case you're watching this in the future, and you don't know who I am, now you know who I am. So I have the YouTubes on my left, and I have the Facebooks on the right, and I am stuck in the middle with you. I could not resist that joke. I'm sorry. Ask my kids. I like bad puns. So anyway, I was kind of thinking about what to do today. I think this is still going. Sorry. So I was kind of thinking about what to do today, and lo and behold, a question popped up on the Blues Guitar Unleashed students Facebook group. There is a Facebook group. I do not run it, but my very good friend and forum moderator Mike Santarcangelo runs it. If you are a Blues Guitar Unleashed member, and that just means you own any of the courses that I have, or you are an all access pass member, any of the above. Any course. It doesn't matter if it's the least expensive one or the most expensive one or somewhere in the middle. It's fine. You have if you ask to join that group, Mike will let you in if you're a reasonably nice person. We don't want to deal with pains in the neck. But anyway, so the question had to do with my email this morning. So if you don't get my emails, by the way, you can go to that, gobgu.com/thelist. And that's where you can get signed up on the email address. Let's see what else I got here. Oh yeah, if you want to get the Blues Guitar Unleashed course, gobgu.com/getbgu. If you're a beginner, gobgu.com/getbbg. I need to figure out how to make that a different color so you can see it. And then if you're an acoustic player, get a BGU. gobgu.com/getabgu. And really the difference between acoustic and electric is simply the approach, really. It's not like the notes change. But if you're an acoustic player, I assume you're playing by yourself. And we've had that discussion, so I won't get into it here. But the best thing here, anyway, what it boiled down to was there was a question about, and I had this thing that I sent an email today that I called the Janitor syndrome. So my dad was a computer programmer. He had a PhD in computer science and was way smarter than I'm ever going to be. And he used to tell, he would be at home like on a weekend, working on something, and he would say to me, hey, will you be my janitor for a minute? And I didn't quite understand what that meant at first, and so I asked him, and he said, well, if you can imagine, being in the computer lab at 2 o'clock in the morning, and this would have been back in the early 1970s, so it was a big building, right? Being in the computer lab until 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to figure out how to fix something that's broken, doesn't work the way you think it should. You're trying to fix it. You've been there all day, all evening, all night, basically, and you can't figure it out. And so, sort of out of desperation, you get up and you go walk down the hall to the vending machine to get a little snack, and soda, whatever, and sort of clear your head and get something. And so on the way down the hall, you run into the janitor, right, who's mopping the floor, right, in the hallway. And he says, wow, you're here kind of late tonight, and in the process, you say, yeah, well, I got this problem, and, you start to expound upon this thing that you've been trying to solve. Well, inevitably, in the process of explaining the problem to the janitor, you come up with the solution. It's right there. And if I had a nickel for every time that has happened over the years, I would be a very wealthy man indeed. It really does work out that way a lot. You have a problem, you can't figure out what to do. In the process of talking about it, I do the same thing. I talk to my kids, I talk to my wife when I can't figure out how to do something, and poof, it's right there in front of me. And so while that doesn't necessarily always apply to me from a computer standpoint, I'm certainly no computer programmer by any means. But the same thing is true about counting. And I mentioned that in my email today, and somebody said, can you sort of, demonstrate what you mean by that? And so I'm going to kind of give you an example based on what made me think about this in the first place was somebody mentioning it in the forum, the Blues Guitar Unleashed member forum. So this kind of all it goes full circle in that way. So you said 5. You're trying to trick me. I'm not sure what you're talking about. So let's say, sorry, there's a lot of comments already. You guys this is awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna see you again for a little while in the challenge. Paul, Rick, Mike. You said, Mike, Santa. You said, hey Griff. You said 5. You trying to trick me? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know what if I said 5, I messed something up, probably. Mike, Martin, Wesley, wow, Joey, John, so great to see all of you. This is really awesome. Thank you guys for joining me. So let me show you kind of what I mean. And this also goes with another thing that I used to do when I used to teach at a place called Rancho Candy Music in Rancho Santa Margarita, which is in southern Orange County. And I taught there for many years. Great place. If you happen to live near there, absolutely go there because they're awesome. And my former students teach there now, which is cool. So I know they know what they're talking about. So I had the room at the end of the hall. There was like 3 rooms, and mine was the one at the end. So I would go out to the waiting room, have my student come in, and I'd say, go on down, go in the room. It was 12 feet, right? It's not like it's super far. And I'm going to fill up my tea, because I used to drink a lot of green tea. I still do, but I would do it pretty much between every lesson. I would just fill up the water and heat it up. Not every lesson, every other, okay? And so I'd say just, go in there, leave the door open, get your guitar out, and play the thing that you were supposed to work on for today. And I'll hear it from here. And so sure enough, they'd go in there and they'd start playing. And I would, from down the hall, say, you didn't count. And they'd be like, how do you know that? And I say, well, because you're missing beats. When things drop, it's really, really obvious. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by that. Let's say that we're working on something simple, like tuning. Apparently, I'm not in tune anymore. I was in tune a minute ago, but apparently I'm not anymore. All right, so let's say I'm just a blues in E, right? Super simple, right? Okay, well, I can't tell you, hey, Steve Perk, hey man, how's it going? That's awesome. Hope all is well. I haven't seen my friend Steve there. Gosh, it's probably been 15 or 20 years since I've seen you. Yeah, hey, shoot me a message, Steve. I'd love to catch up. Anyway, so let's say you're doing something like this. 1 and 2, 3. Okay, so what I see a lot is I'll see something like this. Right? Now, when I hear that from down the hall, I say, yeah, something's not right. Okay, and so what I say is, I always say the same thing. Count out loud so I know where you think you are. Okay? And if you've ever taken a private lesson with me and you are currently on here and you've ever heard me say, do me a favor and count out loud so I know where you think you are, chime that in. Because my guess is there's got to be somebody who's heard me say that more than once. And the reason that I say that, yes, partially it's because I need to know where you think you are. The other part of it is that you need to know where you think you are. It really isn't for me. In the process of you counting out loud for me, you're going to fix it. Okay, so what happens is you get something like this. Somebody says 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then they realize, wait a minute, I was going to start over and I'm not at the end. Okay, so something must have gone wrong. And you're right, something went wrong. You were about to drop a beat. Okay, so without the counting, right, it kind of goes like that. If I apply the beat to that, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, right? It's missing one little piece of a beat, okay? That's not going to work out. You can't play with other people like that, okay? I'm not saying that sort of thing never happens. I'm saying that that's not commonly what we do. So if you all of a sudden count out loud, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, oh, I gotta say 1 and 2. So it might slow you down because you're gonna realize, wait a minute, I wanted to play the next thing there, but I'm saying I'm not saying 1, and that thing happens on 1. And so there's this mess that happens, okay? That's good, because that makes you stop and go, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing something wrong. And that, in and of itself, knowing and being aware that, hey, I'm doing something wrong, is a great thing, because now you can fix it, okay? So that's really what it all boils down to. And you know, it's the easiest way by counting. One of the, you know, you are far away from me. I am talking to you, but you're far away from me, so I can't see what comes back. And that scares a lot of people because you're not necessarily inclined to try to learn over distance. You might think, well, that can't be. But you don't actually need someone looking at what you're doing if you're counting. So if you're concerned about whether or not you're doing something correctly, if you are counting and if you are playing and everything is going where it's supposed to go, you can rest assured that it's correct. And that's a pretty important thing, particularly when you're new, you know, if you're a beginner. As you get more advanced, if you haven't learned how to count and you haven't made that a part of your sort of normal mode of operating, then it's even more important, because I can't tell you how many people, you know, we clean up the counting and all of a sudden they just take off and do great things, okay? So anyhow, I don't want to stretch this out and make it a super long video, but I do want you to really keep this in mind when you practice at home, because it's really, really important. Anything that you practice on, if it's one of my videos, if it's one of somebody else's videos, if it's one of my courses, if it's one of somebody else's courses, it doesn't matter. If you can count and you can make sure that you know when every single note is supposed to happen, you got it. You will get it. There's no question. If you don't know when certain notes are supposed to happen, it's kind of a crapshoot. You don't know. All right? All right, let me, real quick, I'm just going to see if there's any questions here. Hi, honey. My wife is in Michigan. She's on. That's nice. Natural timing. I used to play with drummers a lot. That's all well and good if you have a natural sense of time and rhythm. But at some point, you will try to play something that is outside of what you're normally capable of. And particularly where speed is concerned, if you are sort of a person who naturally feels triplets or naturally feels eighth notes or whatever, you're going to be less inclined to count and you're going to be less inclined to subdivide. And subdividing is more important than your hand speed. So just because it's natural to you, don't not do it. There are plenty of instances, and my wife on here will tell you, there are songs that we play in our bands that I got to count. You know, stuff will get away from you, and I have a pretty darn good inner clock. So, yep, definitely. I've heard during BGU Lab challenges. Yeah, during challenges, we occasionally do these for BGU members. We do challenges. I try to do them about once a month, but they're a lot of fun. Do I have a good lesson on counting? Mike, the best counting stuff, actually the most extensive counting stuff, is in Acoustic Blues Guitar Unleashed. The entire second DVD, which is several lessons, is all counting. So if that's something that you really want to dig into, that's the place to do it. That's the most broad and expansive. If you're wanting to apply it more to strumming and like playing strum rhythms and strum patterns and stuff, Strumming and Rhythm Mastery will do the same thing for you. Okay, I gotta go because I gotta get ready for the next thing today. But thank you all for joining me so much. Great to see you, and I will probably see you tomorrow, although I don't know when. The reason that I don't announce these is because I never know how my day's gonna work out. I just sort of try to jump on here when the opportunity presents itself. But it's great to see all of you. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.